Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baseball Talk Radio Show. It's Rich Baxter, and I'm joined each week with my good friend and baseball maven, Mr. Gary Mack. How are you, Gary?
I'm good, Rich. Thanks so much for the intro. And how are you doing, my friend?
Doing good. Watching more baseball every time I get a chance to. The spring training's well underway. Just a great time to see baseball back on the diamond. Tons of news coming out of the media. It's amazing how much that drives the game.
Yeah, it certainly is, and in a lot of instances, it's driving everything in this world now. The media, it seems, but good news and bad news, Rich, from the baseball world this week. We have the tentative agreement and both sides, the league and the Players Association, have reached an agreement to expand the rosters to 28 players through May the 1st. That's kind of to protect the pitchers in this short spring training. I think it's a pretty good idea.
Yeah, they need to do something because they acknowledge that it was very short for the time for them to get ready. So, yeah, it's well needed. And we have the April 7th opening day, Thursday, scheduled. 9 games scheduled for that day. And then on Friday, April 8th, we have 11 games. So we're closing in on that very fast here. It's the 27th already. Only a couple more weeks to the start of the baseball season, and baseball is back.
And it'll be here in a blink of the eye. I got to watch some of the Mets game yesterday, and today they're on TV again. Thank goodness. And today we're going to have quite a special game. It's going to be DeGrom and Scherzer both pitching in this game, so that should be interesting to watch for Met fans. Watched a little bit of your Phillies the other night. They were in. Who were they playing? Can't remember now. But they were on MLB, and I caught a little bit of that replay of the game at night. Like you said, Rich, it's nice to have baseball back and catching some of the games from the Cactus League and the Grapefruit League, and and then the news coming out, as we say, they're going to expand the roster. That's always a good thing. Give somebody an extra uh, chance, an extension, and but unfortunately, Rich, the Ghost Runner is back.
Yeah, I thought we had rid ourselves of that. The runner at second base for extra innings, and surprisingly, the players are in agreement to bring that back. So I had heard grumblings about it a couple weeks ago. It wasn't cemented that was
Yeah.
taken away completely, and then all of a sudden, yeah, within the last week, we're going to have that runner at second. It's just not baseball to me.
I think they want to get to their post game meal, Rich. I think that's what the thing is.
Yeah, I mean,
And
it doesn't make sense. It really gives that first team that's up after the 9 innings a tremendous advantage. You got a runner at second. You could practically bunt them to third and score them on a long fly ball. I mean, so
yeah,
it's
yeah, no, I
that
agree.
that would be my way to go about it to get them home. But yeah, just play it to a tie. Then just if you want to do 9 innings and be done, be done. But I think that's it's kind of stupid on both sides. But it's a rule now that's going to happen, and it's part of baseball. So it's one of those asterisk things. Runner was started at second.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, and it's not fair to the pitcher either because he didn't put the guy on second, and you bring in a relief pitcher in a tie game, and if they score because the guy scored, he'll get the loss. Now, okay, I understand that he let the run score, but he didn't put the guy there in the first place. So, you're assuming the guy would have got to second, and then somebody else got a hit, or as you say, bunt and a long fly to get him in. But it's kind of a crazy rule, but they want to use it this year. I think they're going to try to slip it by us permanently. Maybe the players just want to get to that, the post game buffet or something quicker, so they don't like the extra innings. But we'll see how it goes. And then they also passed a rule, the Shohei Ohtani rule, Rich, and this rule, I don't know. This is, they're changing the whole rules for one guy, essentially. If a starting pitcher is also hitting in a lineup, this is the Shohei Ohtani rule, then that player remains as the DH even if he's pulled from the start. So, naturally, he's a good hitter. They're going to leave him in there. And then if they want to take him out of the game, they will.
Yes, and I apologize. I lost my video here for a second. It was fooling with some settings for those watching. And I can't get it started again now. That figures. That teaches me not to mess with there.
There you go. He's back.
Yeah, but let's for those of us that don't know about the rule, what's the specifics of it?
Well, if a starting pitcher is also hitting in the lineup, because Ohtani, when he pitches, he's the hitter. He hits.
Uh-huh.
Now, I don't know whether they have another DH in there or not, because we don't really follow. I would imagine that they don't. If they take him out, he can still stay in a game as the DH.
Okay.
So if they decided, I don't know, is Aaron Nola a good hitter? I don't know. If he was in the, if he batted in a game, one of the 9 hitters, and pitching, that's the key, and pitching. And then they took him out of the pitching, he would still get his at bats in the game as he would become the DH.
Oh, okay. So that's pretty interesting there. Yeah, I guess, that one guy there, the rule for one guy, that's another question mark about should you have a rule to benefit more one guy, basically. How many people are going to do this?
There's not that many two-way players. I mean, there's one or two others that I know of in the minors, but he's the only one in the majors. I mean, unless you had a real good hitting pitcher, but still, I don't think you would. Jacob deGrom's a good hitting pitcher, but are you going to put him in when he pitches, or are you going to put in? Robinson Cano or something. I think you're going to go with Cano. You're not going to go with DeGrom. First off, you don't want to risk injury. If that's the whole point of having the DH to avoid pitching injury, then you're not going to want that. Your pitcher hitting. So it's really essentially for one guy, unless somebody else comes along that's a two-way player. Now I know Tampa Bay, I think I think it was Tampa Bay. They had a guy that I actually saw. I saw him, watched him on the College World Series, and I can't think of his name right now. And then I saw him in person a couple of times at Hudson Valley, the Hudson Valley Renegades, which was a minor league team a few years ago with the Tampa Bay Rays. And I know he made it to the majors, and I can't think of his name offhand. And then he had Tommy John surgery, and he had some other injuries. But he was a two-way player. He was a first baseman and a pitcher. So, and he had that was the year He was with Hudson Valley the year they won a championship, and he pitched in one of the playoff games and won that. And I think he had a home run that got him into the playoffs or something. He had a big part to do with that. But anyway, he's had a bunch of injuries, so but he would be the only other guy I could think of. I think there's another guy in the minors that I read about, but I can't recall his name either. But it is essentially right now for one guy, as you said.
Yeah. Huh. So we'll have to see if that has an impact on other teams this year. And this past week, it was announced that New York rescinded its vaccine mandate for athletes, for pro athletes in the city on Thursday, actually. The mayor, Eric Adams, lifted the COVID-19 vaccine mandate on athletes, paving the way for a basketball star and unvaccinated New York Yankees and Mets to play in their April home openers. Um, a move that a lot of people didn't see coming because the week before he was very staunch about maintaining this vaccine mandate, and now they just flip flopped on it that fast.
Well, I think there was a lot of pressure put on him, and he caved. And it's a stupid rule to begin with. I mean, I think we discussed this last week that Kyrie Irving of the Brooklyn Nets refuses to get the vaccine, which is his choice, and he could not play in a home game. He could go to a game. I think he could sit on the bench, but he couldn't play in the game, which I don't understand. If you can go to a game, and or even if you had to sit in the stands, if you can go to a game, it just doesn't make any sense. Um, but he couldn't play because he wasn't vaccinated, and this was the whole thing. And it came out that with baseball starting soon, that there's a number of guys on a number of teams that aren't vaccinated, and were they going to be playing at home? And so, as you said, the mayor said he wasn't going to change it, and then a couple of days later, a week later, he had a change of heart, I guess, or somebody came down on him, and he decided to change it. So now there's a little bit of an uproar about that because now the cops that lost their jobs and the firemen and everybody else that lost their job because they wouldn't get vaccinated are saying, and rightfully so, hey, what's going on here? You're letting it go, and if you notice, the change says professional athletes and performers.
Yeah.
So they're kind of covered that. Well, we didn't make this change for the baseball or the basketball or whatever because the playoffs are coming up in basketball. It's performers as well, so their butts covered that way, I guess. Um, it's a stupid rule to begin with. It never should have been in effect, and they should have changed it a long time ago. So I'm glad they changed it, but it's all about the dollars. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, you wonder if there wasn't a phone call made during the week. Would you like a nice donation? We'd like to, because it's a tremendous flip flop from what it was,
Yeah.
and yeah, it would have been hard to see a lot of players sit the bench. I think it would be interesting at the same time. Canada still has that rule, and they haven't rescinded it or bended it. I don't think they'll bend it at all. Um, but it'll be interesting to see. The Yankees go up to uh, Toronto quite often. So does Boston.
Yeah.
So it's going to tell a tale of athletes that aren't vaccinated for sure.
Well, it's also interesting because you do have the team didn't release who was not vaccinated because there's hit the HIPAA rules and all of that kind of stuff. Um, and I don't think they're allowed to give that information out to the press. But let's just say that I'm watching a Met game at home, and it's Jacob DeGrom, and I don't know if he's vaccinated or not. I'm just using this as an example. Uh, you know, turn to pitch. It's his turn to pitch, and he's not pitching that night. You know, and the next time around, and they're home again, and he's not pitching, or if guy's not playing in the field, you kind of get the feeling that, oh, that guy's not vaccinated. Then, so doesn't that violate the HIPAA laws, or the medical laws, or something? It seems like it would be a violation of something somewhere along the line. So, uh, it, it's a big can of worms that they got themselves into with this thing, and he's gotten himself out of it and opened up to more criticism. But it's his party that put it into effect. So
That's true. So we'll
what are
have
you
to
gonna
see
do?
about that as well as time goes on. And sticking with the New York theme, Yankees Brian Cashman says an extension offer will be made before opening day to Mr. Judge, who's been a good portion of their offense for the past couple years. Aaron Judge, they offered him apparently $17 million, and he wants 21. So currently making 10.175 million. A lot of money.
How can he get by on that, Jack? Rich? I don't know. Uh, you know, it's a lot of money. You know what? They'll probably settle at 19. That's what I would do if I was his agent, and I'd make an offer, or I'd say, look, let's just split the difference. You're at 17, we're at 21. Let's meet at 19. It's a $9 million raise.
Yeah.
I remember working. Of course, it was a long time ago, but and I got a 40 cents per hour raise. Which was what,
A lot of money.
$16 a week raise or something, and I was happy with it. So uh, I'll never forget that.
Yeah. It was
Remember
probably
those
worth
days, Rich?
a dollar or so in
Yeah,
today's
now.
money.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
Judge on the Yankees for 6 years now. This is going to be his seventh season, projected at 30 home runs, 77 RBIs. One of the Yankees superstars. So we'll have to see if he can make the deal with him. He's already 30 years of age for the 22 playing season. Seems like he just came
Yeah.
up not too long ago.
Yeah, and he's not really a big RBI guy, it doesn't seem. I mean, 77 for 30 homers, that's not. I mean, I guess a lot of guys aren't getting on in front of him. His totals are nice, but they're not overly impressive. I mean, he drove in 114 in 2017. That was, 52 homers. That's nice.
Yeah.
Um, But
Yeah.
the other years, 27 home runs, 67 RBIs, 27, 55 RBIs. In the COVID season, he only hit 9 homers with 22 RBIs. I think he was hurt that year. Last year, hit 39 homers and 98 RBI. Hmm. He's a nice player. I don't think he's a Hall of Fame material, and he's a nice player, good player. Huh.
Yeah. And these years may, put him into that Hall of Fame category if he can keep it up for 5, 6, 7 years to come. And, all of a sudden, all these semi stars and stars are 30 years old. So they get called up and they're 24 or 25, and they have a chance for maybe two contracts now, and that's what it
Yeah,
seems like it's going to.
and that you know that's why they do it. That's what they become free agents. But you take a guy like Michael Conforto, who was with the Mets, and Mets drafted him, came through their system, played with the team. Now he's a free agent. He hasn't signed yet, and the Mets had offered him a qualifying offer, whatever that was. I think it was 17.5 million this year, something along that line. Turned it down, and who knows what he's going to get now. Another Scott Boras client, and we've seen this happen with some Scott Boras clients in the past, where he holds them and holds them and holds them, and then they don't end up playing. He had a philosophy that he held some of them out until May or June,
Hmm.
and they never made that money back. I think it was Stephen Drew with the Red Sox. They offered him at that time. The qualifying offer was, I think, 14 million or something, and he didn't play. And then I think he signed. He signed for a lot less money. Played a half a season because then he had to get in shape, and it just wasn't good. And then I think he signed like a 2-year deal, but for a lot less. You know, we would love a 2-year deal of 10 million, 15 million, whatever, but it wasn't what he could have had. It added up to the 14 million he could have got the 1 year, and then if he had a decent year, he could have signed more. And I see the same thing happening with Conforto now. Conforto, he's holding him out, and the 5-6 year deal isn't happening. I wish the Mets would go back, put $1 million on it or something, 18 and a half, 19, and get him, sign him for a year, and then try to extend them from there. But doesn't seem to be any movement that way. Um, I don't know. They said Colorado might be interested, but that's where sometimes these agents can get a little too big for their britches, and it ends up hurting the player. And we hear about the big contracts that they might score, but there's a lot of other little guys that he's or that agents are representing, and they might get screwed in the long run.
Yeah, that's always a risk when you're holding out and teams aren't necessarily biting for your services. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with him. Yeah, it's certainly a marquee batter, and a lot of the teams have already picked up their
Mm-hmm.
batters and things. So he's sitting on the side, as you said. A couple others also um, not hired yet for the 22 season, but Bernie Sanders actually crept back into the news this past week, and even though the baseball settlement was reached and all, he wants to see MLB's monopoly through the antitrust protections ended. So, and this is something that I don't believe the NFL even has an exemption
No.
from being subject to the law, equally allowing baseball owners to manipulate their own market, especially in minor leagues, to suppress salaries and increase profits. So he's been making the waves for legislation designed to take away the anti competitive protections baseball has been granted for over a century. So this lockout has spurred Bernie to spring into action. Not sure if this is going to go too many places, but could be a big change for baseball if it does.
I think it'll be a bad change for baseball. I think it'll probably kill them. It would give all the power to the union, I would think, and you're going to have strikes, and minor league baseball players are going to be wanting more money, and it's just, he says to make it cheaper for people to go. I don't think that it would make it cheap. I think it's going to make it more expensive, because if they're going to have to pay minor leaguers more money, where are they going to make the money? At the ticket booth. These guys don't understand. They don't understand basic economics. I'm amazed at how the certain party in this country just does not understand economics, and they keep telling us it's not going to affect you. It's not. Of course, it's going to affect us. Anytime you raise taxes, anytime you do anything to big businesses, we're going to get big business. They always want to get big business. It's the people that make the business, not the owners. Well, but who put their money up? Did you put? I don't see Bernie Sanders putting $2 billion up to buy a baseball team. It just offends me as a citizen that these guys just don't understand the basic tenets of economics. If you raise the prices you cause the manufacturer to pay more, or in this case, the ball teams to pay more. They're not going to lose money because they're going to raise something else. And it's usually the fans are the ones, and we always end up getting screwed.
I guess with the MLB's realignment of the minor leagues, that sort of thing, it certainly seems to be a little anti-competitive. They're taken away from certain markets with the smaller baseball teams, maybe to make it more profitable, maybe to rein in the minor league system, as we were talking about last year and the year before that. But, this could have big implications on baseball, the future of baseball, and let's see what happens with it. Just one of those things that you have some good points for it, good points against it, and somewhere in the middle, or one way or another, it's going to have to work out.
Yeah, the problem is nowadays that there is no middle anymore. You're either for or against it, and, well, let's just leave it at that.
All right.
Or as our president would say, let's just leave it at that.
Well, somebody that doesn't want to leave it at that is a guy that just got out of baseball down in Miami, but now he's making the rounds around Topps baseball card company that was just bought out by Fanatics. And,
oh my God, they're owning everything, Fanatic.
Yeah, paid $500 million for Topps cards, and they're still doing well. I was just listening to a ball game on before we came onto the air, and they were talking about baseball cards, but they are out. The Topps Series 1s are out, and they're going for big money because of Wander Franco, 21-year-old rookie from Tampa Bay. His card being graded is $200 a piece right now.
Gee.
That's what it's running. So push the Series 1 boxes up to around $125 if you can find them. So if you go down to Walmart and see a Series 1 Topps for $20.22, you might want to pick it up at the regular price of $24.95. So with the
and how many cards do you get for that $24.95?
I believe there's 24 packs in the box, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So you got
it's a $1 a pack in roughly.
Just about, yeah. But with this rookie card being chased, it's pushed the price up on the, gouging market, so to speak, to $125 a box. So.
Wow.
But Derek Jeter made the rounds and met with the Topps people in the office this past week, and he opened some packs of their 1993 set, trying to chase his rookie card. And there was an article on MLB.com entitled Derek Jeter Opens Tops Cards. And I don't think he found one, but it was an interesting video. They had to go with this as well, with him actually opening packs, which he enjoyed on the video, looking for his rookie card.
Imagine getting into their warehouse. I mean, they still got 1993 packs of cards, that
Yeah,
he could open. I mean, how much? You know what? It'd be fascinating to know how much stock they have of old things. Or do
yeah.
they keep it? Do they have like 1955 boxes of cards there, and or did they destroy them? Because who knew it was going to be valuable back then?
It could be a road trip. We could plan a road trip if our humble viewers would just jump on board to sponsor us. Go to anchor.fm/baseball talk radio and find us there, and you can actually subscribe to us there by the month. You can get us some funding to go do these interesting interviews. That would be an interesting trip to go over to Tops and talk with them, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Uh,
without a doubt.
I would enjoy that. So, or our Patreon page, you can research that as well and sign up there, sponsor the show, try to get us over the Tops. We'll bring the story to you, folks.
Yeah, certainly. And Rich, I've got a nice story here this week. Tyler Zombro is a 27-year-old right-hander who reported to the Tampa Bay Rays minor league camp as an active pitcher less than 9 months after he underwent emergency brain surgery the night he was struck on the right side of his head by a 104 mile per hour line drive. On March 10th of this year, he faced hitters in the batting practice for the first time since that game. And 4 days later, he pitched a perfect inning in an inter-squad scrimmage. His first action since June the 3rd of a couple of years ago. He reached another significant point yesterday at JetBlue Park when he went in to pitch against the Red Sox and took the ball from manager Kevin Cash and faced two batters, recorded 2 outs with a wild pitch mixed in the middle, then gave way to a parade of relievers. But just the fact that he came back 9 months after having emergency brain surgery to play in the game, pretty fantastic story. And interestingly enough, he wears a hat with a special Kevlar insert in it. It's all Kevlar inside of it, and he has these little inserts, and there's one that comes out that hangs down a little bit for an extra protection. But I thought it was a great story that this guy made it back, and good luck to him. Even if he goes to the minors, I mean, that's something to come back from.
Yeah, amazing story there. Almost tragic story for him. And he turned it around and was able to come back. You see that once or twice or three times in this sport every year where these, tragedies with these baseballs happening. But glad to see that worked out for him. And can't wait to see more from him this year. And Gary, before
And
we bring the curtain down, did you have something else on it?
I just wanted to say that the hat he was wearing was interesting because it doesn't really look like it looks like a regular hat. Remember a couple of years ago, I think it was Alex Torres played with the Mets and San Diego, and he had that big Wizard of Oz things it looked like. Remember
Yeah.
that big, huge, ugly hat, helmet, or whatever you want to call it, special cap that they made for him. This one is it looks like a regular cap, um, and it has inserts inside of it, and they're sewed in, and I think you can remove them probably to clean them or whatever. But it really looked like a nice advancement in protection for the pitchers, and I would expect we may see a lot of pitchers wearing something to this effect as we go down the road, if not already. If it looks like a regular cap, we may not even know that they're wearing it, and they don't want to admit it. But it's time they do something because the players are getting bigger and stronger, and these guys need some kind of protection.
That's cool. Yes, they do. For sure. I would want one if I was a pitcher. Absolutely. No doubt about it. Across the MLB this year, they'll be using humidors for the first time. So prior to this, only a few clubs have stored their baseball in these humidors, similar to a cigar type humidor, which is climate controlled and stores baseballs at average humidity before the games. They're stored there. So down in Arizona and Colorado, of course, they're needed. But this year it's going to be a level playing field. All 30 parks are going to have humidors installed. And pretty interesting the way they keep care of these baseballs before the game. They rub them up with mud and things like that. And now the humidor coming into accepted use in all 30 parks.
Yeah, I don't know. We're getting so sophisticated.
Yeah.
I
Yes,
don't
we
know,
are.
Rich. I'm just getting old.
And of course, we already talked about the mud being brought in. I think it's down around the Delaware River, right south of
Yeah, I
like
think it's
Philadelphia is where they get that mud from. So
yeah,
I always
on
think
that
about that
Jersey.
when I go to the game. I always think about weird things like that. The
Where
preparations
is
of the
that
game.
place? And how did they discover that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
It's amazing.
They
But
probably deputize one company to have that job.
yeah, I think it is one company that makes that mud, and that's all they do.
Yeah,
So, and
pretty
they don't
cool.
really make it. I guess they collect it. It'd probably be the better terminology.
Yeah, and believe it or not, I'm scheduled to go to opening day this year. So very happy.
Very good.
Yeah.
With your ticket pass, or do you have
No, will be
other
not with the ticket
tickets?
pass. The pass did not include opening day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
But you've got tickets for opening day.
I got a seat. So
That's great.
though I prefer to stand most of the time, I probably will sit as well. But yep, I'll be there opening day. One of my favorite days
No,
of
yeah.
baseball. It's so celebratory. There's all kinds of celebrations going on outside the stadium, and then the optimism of fans and all.
Hmm.
It's great.
Yeah, opening day is terrific.
Yeah.
I went a number of years, and sometimes I missed the celebratory pre-game because I was coming. Went to work, and then I took a quarter day or something, and by the time you hit traffic, one year I got there was like the second inning, which really ticked me off.
Yeah, I gotta be there. I gotta be there a couple
Yeah.
hours early
Yeah,
to
you
soak
do.
it all
You do.
in.
Mm-hmm. You're
You
right.
know?
The last time I went way early because my daughter was involved in oh, humanity, that the house, the people that build the houses,
Right,
homes
right.
for
Habitat for
humanity.
Humanity. Yeah.
Yes, that's it. Thank you. And they got invited. One of the groups she was in got invited to City Field for opening day, and she was actually on the field with them.
Nice.
Um, so we had to get there real early. She got 2 tickets, and she asked me to go, which was nice of her.
Yep.
And we went, and we had a great time. It was really a lot of fun, and of course, I spent some of the time by myself because she had to go with the group. So, but it was nice. It was we got there a ton early, and I just kind of wandered around the outside. And as you say, taking it all in. It's an optimistic time, and it's a fun day. It really is. So you'll have a ball. And who are they playing? The Phillies opening up.
Phillies open up against the Oakland A's at home this year.
And so they'll be at home April 7th?
8th. The Friday the 8th. Yep, that's opening day.
Well, dress warmly. That's the
Bring
one
your...
thing I remember about opening day.
Yeah. If it's this week, it's going to be chilly again. So
yeah.
We've been to warm. We've had the 70 tease days. Now we're back into the 50s. I was just making a comment to someone the other day, like, back and forth, back and forth. Then it'll be 80 before you know it.
And how is that ballpark? Is it a cool place, or chilly, or is it?
It depends if the sun's out, and where you're sitting in the stadium, but it can be chilly. I do remember April games, bringing that little blanket type of thing, and it can be absolutely chilly because if it's 50 degrees and you're sitting in the stadium with a wind on you, it feels
it's
a lot
cold.
colder.
Yeah. One quick story. I remember at the old Shea Stadium going to a game, and it was my friend and I went. It was May, I want to say 30th or something. So it was pretty well along,
Uh-huh.
and it was a fairly warm day. I guess it was in its 70s or something. So we just we knew it gets chilly there, but we just, we grabbed a sweatshirt or something with us and brought it there. We were sitting in the third row of the loge, I think it was. And the first row was in the sun. We were in the shade. And the funny part about it is, if you look, it was like two different ballparks. Because if you looked at the box seats, everybody's in T-shirts and shorts, and everybody above in the shade were in parkers.
Yeah.
It was just an amazing difference that it was so cold in the shade, and yet, 5 feet away, they were in T-shirts. It was just, that was a crazy ballpark for wind and everything else, Shea. So we never forgot that, and every time we went, we were prepared from there on in.
Yeah, it's that kind of even in that season, you don't expect it, but if you're in the shade, wind's blowing, you get chilly fast.
Yeah.
So remember that if you're in the cold climate for opening day, folks. And thanks for listening to us on this edition of the Baseball Talk Radio Show. We'll bring up some stats on the listeners next week on the show as we get closer to opening day. Yeah, we'll only be a handful of days away next week, Gary, from the show.
Wow.
Yeah, from
coming fast,
day.
Rich.
Yes, indeed. Well, everybody have a great week out there. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next week on the Baseball Talk Radio Show.